Good morning, gorgeous people. It's Friday. Time to definitely celebrate the week. I hope you've had a fabulous, fabulous week. And I'm really, really excited to be chatting about this topic today because I think it's something that really impacts so many of us, and I know I've certainly been in that situation as well, and I've been doing some further training recently and just really understanding what's actually happening in the mind, in the brain, on a biochemical process when we undergo stress as well. So say good morning if you're on here. It's always lovely to catch up with people. Hey Tammy, great to have you on, darling. So definitely chatting today about how difficult it can become to make those longer term decisions or those choices, or actually to put into action what we need to when we've been undergoing stress for so long as well. Hey Tiff, great to have you on. So one of the states that we go into in our brain, and this has been recorded scientifically, and being like people monitor people's brain waves, and Joe Dispenza in particular has done like a lot of work and a lot of research on this particular subject as well. And it really does make such a big difference to our overall state and our overall well-being, and what's actually biochemically happening within our body from a state of coherence and everything being able to function well. So all of our systems, our bodily systems, our immune system, our endocrine system, all the regulatory processes that actually take place in the body are so tied into and keyed into what our brainwaves patterns are doing and the state of being that we're currently in. So if you've been under stress for a long period of time, you'll probably have heard of adrenal fatigue or exhaustion, or just in that really, really high anxious state, or perhaps depressive state that we can get ourselves into, literally because of the hormones that are flooding our body every single day, whether that's adrenaline or whether that's long-term cortisol. Hey Dallas, great to have you on. And the long-term cortisol, of course, makes it harder and harder to think clearly. So if you've experienced some of that brain fog, or perhaps if you're carrying some belly fat, that can also be where you can tend to lose weight in other areas, but the belly fat makes it really difficult to lose, or it's hard to lose that, or perhaps overall, if you're finding it difficult to lose weight, there'll be that will definitely be tied into your high cortisol levels as well. So long-term stress, what actually happens in the brain, and this just fascinated me when I actually heard it, and it makes so much sense logically, but also emotionally, and what I've actually seen energetically happen when there is that state of long-term stress. Everybody's in this survival state where it's like we're constantly in this hypervigilance, and with the beta mind. Oh, so it definitely relates then, Tiff. I'm pleased to hear. So you definitely want to keep watching, honey, because I'm going to give you some tips on how to actually change this as well, and how to bring our body out of that high beta state, which is the state of stress. So there's 4 states of, whether it's consciousness, I think we'd probably call it consciousness, but 4 states of brain waves basically that are going on. That is the beta state. So that's the high stress state. It's when we're highly vigilant, we're in survival mode and trying to keep things together, and it's very difficult to grow or to make changes when we're constantly in the high beta state. I've been a single mum since 2008, so definitely, I've definitely had some of those very high beta states going on, and having my own business and studying and everything else, there's been a lot that's actually, it can be quite challenging when we're trying to keep things all together as well. So hey Buffy, great to have you on, beautiful. So when we're in that high beta state, like I said, we're in that highly vigilant state. Then if we drop into alpha, that's when our brain becomes a little bit more receptive and becomes a little bit more coherent. So the brain's actually functioning and working together. What happens when we're in that high beta state? Hey Charity, great to have you on, babe. What happens when we're in that high beta state for a long period of time? So our brain waves and we're trying to grip on and hold on in life, is our brain actually starts to compartmentalize. So this is where like different aspects of the brain, normally your brain is like really integrated. You've got your left and your right side communicating well through the corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is the bit in the center, and particularly in premature babies, this can be quite difficult for them because the corpus callosum definitely hasn't developed at the stage that it normally would in a full-term baby. So that is what can create learning challenges for preemie babies as well. But in a fully integrated brain, the logical side of the brain and the emotional side of the brain are integrated and working as one. Now, what happens when we go into a state of stress, depending on your conditioning and how you've grown up and everything else, you will go either into logical, analytical, like, yep, it's all fine, I've just got to do this, I've got to get that done, and cut off completely from your emotions and not be able to tap into that intuition and make the greatest decision for yourself. Or you may be highly emotional, and that's exactly where I go. So I'm all emotional, no logic, and just lose it, like become highly reactive, whether we go into anger, sadness, despair, fear, but we become highly emotionally, and you may have interacted with people before where you cannot communicate rationally with somebody when they're in that state. So this is where we need that whole brain integration, but that's more in a fight flight moment, or in like just a response when we're undergoing stress, whether that's in an argument or a conflict with somebody, or you've just got some news that has been really unsettling for you. So that tends to be where we go in that moment. But long term, what happens to the brain is it starts to compartmentalize. So it's not communicating well. All the functions of the brain are all happening independent of each other. Now, I love the analogy of even thinking about a community. If there's not enough food to go around, if the community is in a state of stress, then everybody starts fighting against each other, as opposed to collaborating and all working together as a team to function holistically and to really work coherently together, where everybody's communicating. I'm doing this over here, I'm going to take care of that. Okay, what are you doing? And everything's integrated and working really well. So the more that we stay in that high beta stress, the more the brain compartmentalizes, the more it really it becomes dysfunctional, and it's when our heart and our brain aren't connected, and so we're not actually speaking or making decisions from a heart-brain connection. It's in that pure survival state, and it's when we tend to get like a lot of that white noise happening, where it's really difficult to actually shut down our mind. And I've definitely been in that state lots of times as well. So we're definitely going to talk about how to actually overcome that. Hey Anne, great to have you on. Because I think we can all get stuck in that, oh my God, I just can't quieten my mind, it's crazy, it's blah, blah, blah. And in this, when we're incoherent, that's when we feel confused, that's when we feel lost, that's when it's really, really, really difficult to make decisions, because you've got all these different aspects of yourself, all these different parts of the brain that aren't communicating as a whole, feeling aligned, being able to make the right decision for you moving forward in a collaborative state. So that's why it's so difficult to go, oh my God, I don't know what's the right decision, I don't know what to do. So in order to move past this, we need to drop down into alpha. Now, alpha can be accessed through meditation, through just pure focus. So starting to focus the mind, starting to either hear our heartbeat, or even just placing my left hand on my heart and feeling like I'm breathing in and out my heart. Really helps me to get that brain and that heart connection going, and to start to create this more coherent state. Now, most people will feel frustrated, and I certainly did when I first started meditating. I could actually only meditate for like 2 minutes at a time because my mind was so busy. But what I found over time, I could extend that to 5 minutes, extend that to 10 minutes, to a point today where I literally feel like I really, really communicate with the highest aspect of myself. I receive that inner guidance very clearly, and it comes from a real state of flow and connection of my heart and my mind together, communicating as to what my largest vision or what my largest purpose is, and being able to make decisions every single day easily from that place, being in tune with what works for me, what doesn't, as opposed to being in this constant state of reactive survival mode, which is really, really tricky as well. Hey, great to have you on. So definitely the more that we can quieten the mind through certain practices, for you it might be walking in sunshine, or being in nature, or taking some time out. Like, I know playing the piano is incredibly therapeutic for me on a soul level as well. Hey Heath, great to have you on. But get in tune with what brings you out of that state of, oh my God, like that survival state. You'll know when you're in a high beta state simply because you get that tunnel vision focus where, and I'm very tuned into this when I'm running as well. So when we're in a fat burning state, that's more where we're not in this state of survival. We're in this state of there's plenty to go round, it's all good. We're in that state of abundance. We feel spacious internally, and you're looking out and you're noticing what's actually going on around you. So your focus is a lot more expansive. When you're in that stress state, that it's like literally like tunnel vision almost. And I've noticed this a lot when I run, when I get focused on like a meter or 2 meters in front of me on the path. That's when we're in that sugar burning adrenaline fight flight state response as well. So this happens in life as well, where we can't make great congruent decisions based on everything else. And not that we should be making decisions obviously on everything else, but coming from that holistic point of view. When I say everything else, I'm more meaning being swayed by other people's opinions and everything else. So sometimes obviously that can create a level of stress as well if we feel internal conflict around that. But being able to come back to your truer self, knowing full well when you make the right and most highest decisions for you, you are actually serving everybody else around you. It's one of the greatest conflicts that I believe that we have as humans, where literally that survival mind wants to fit in, it wants to belong, it wants to be accepted, and its greatest fear is not being secure and not being loved. And so the more that we can expand into abundance, and drop down into that alpha state, like I said, through mindfulness practices, through doing things that fill up your bucket, that make you feel great, the more space that you'll actually have for deciding what's most important to you, what your true values are, and being able to start to follow that heart's guidance and that inner tuition much better. And what this does over a period of time, it makes it easier and easier to actually change. And when you are in elevated states, so Joe Dispenza often talks about neurons that fire together wire together. So we're reinforcing, what he means by that is we're actually reinforcing our habits, our habitual emotions that we go into every single day. And most people generally have 5 to 10 emotions that they experience every day. And I would challenge you even to start to experience, start to elicit, or start to ask yourself, well, if I wanted to be more playful, what would I do like to feel more playful? And it's a state of being, and sometimes even just using our imagination to imagine when we do feel playful or what we're actually doing. Hey Deb, great to have you on, beautiful. When we step into that state of being, that's when our neurons and everything start to change within our brain, and we are literally rewiring our whole internal system within our brain. And there's actually been brain scans done that notice from an incoherent brain pattern starting to go into a coherent brain pattern. And when that coherence is happening, it's like the whole community coming together, starting to work together collaboratively to achieve those greater outcomes, that greater purpose, that greater vision. And it's when we start to feel aligned within ourselves, there's greater feelings of contentment, well-being, safety, security, love, and we can really start to express love more fully, as opposed to be so when we're in that high beta state. It tends to be when we're very self-conscious, when we're all about the self, and we become quite selfish in that. And I'm quite an advocate of self-love and self-responsibility, which sometimes can appear selfish, but true selfishness is when we're so in lack, we're so in scarcity, that we like greed and all those things start to set in, where we're grabbing at things. We need it for ourselves because we're so scared that there's not going to be enough for us. So self-love, by filling up our bucket, by taking in what it is that we actually need, by providing that for ourselves, by dropping down into that alpha state through meditation, mindfulness practices, taking care of ourselves, then it's like a full bucket that's actually overflowing, and we give from the overflow. So we're no longer concerned with self, with what's going on with self, in that state as well. Hey Shannon, great to have you on here. And we can make greater, higher decisions based on not only the greatest good for ourselves, but the greatest good for all as well. And this is where I think the more self-love that we have, the more that bucket overflows. Hey Helena, great to have you on, babe. Really does make such a huge difference as well. And over the longer term, as your brain and your heart become more connected, as you drop out of that high beta state back into alpha, you'll still go into beta, because we actually need that beta state. It is that high focused, disciplined state to get things done and everything else. But the more that you can drop into alpha, and then theta and delta is like deep sleep. Theta is when the body's asleep, but the mind is still aware and conscious. So that's in deep meditative states, and in that moment, that's when our subconscious mind can be very easily programmed. So a lot of subliminal messages and things like that, if you've got any of those CDs or deep hypnosis, that's what's actually occurring at that theta state as well. Thank you, sweetheart. That's so beautiful of you, Deb. So again, basically the main message around this is it's very difficult to make decisions when you are in that high adrenaline state, when you're in that pressure, in that survival state. And one of the greatest ways, like I said, is obviously mindfulness, using your breath, doing that heart breathing, doing things that just fill you up or that make you feel good. Now, I've had moments in my life as well where I was in such a state of stress where it didn't matter what I did, I actually didn't feel that great myself as well. So it wasn't about the doing. It comes back to who we're actually being internally. And when we're in a state of stress, we're actually being stressed, or we're being angry, or we're being sad, or we're being depressed, or we're being anxious, all of those things. And it's the mind's wanting to regain control, and all of that is honestly just an illusion. There's no control in our external world. We might think that we feel a sense of security or a sense of control by having a great relationship, or having money in a bank account, or having a great house, or having a great car, or a great job, or any of those things. It tends to settle our ego's survival mind, but it's all actually just an illusion. And you and I know that that can change in an instant, and that's very unsettling for the survival mind as well. So the more that you become very attuned to your own emotional mastery, what this actually teaches you is how to self-regulate and how to actually create from within, using your own energy within as well. That's so fabulous, Charity. I'm glad it's resonating for you, sweetie. So when we're in that high state of stress, we're sending all of our energy out into the external world. We're grabbing at things. We're trying to regain control of our external world. And I did this particularly when my life felt like it was really falling apart back in 2008, when my marriage broke down. Like literally my life was like crumbling away before me. My mum became unwell with terminal cancer and passed away shortly afterwards. So there was a lot going on. I just became a single mum. Financially, I was incredibly insecure at the time. I was only earning $300 a week. I had all this stuff going on, and it was like I was trying to regain my foothold in the external world, not knowing that actually to create change, I need to create that sense of stability, that sense of certainty inside myself. And this is where emotional mastery really becomes the aim of the game, and we have an ability to really influence our world in a powerful way when we bring back our energy internally. So that's from going from that high beta state where we're sending all of our energy out into the world, trying to get control, trying to control the job, kind of control the money coming in, to control the person that we're in intimate relationship with, if they're misbehaving or not doing, like, we're reactive with them. If all those things are going on, we're sending all that energy, all of our own energy out into the world. And this really affects our solar plexus, which is one of our energy centers within the body in the chakra system. And what actually happens, we're giving away all of our power, going, I need all of this to change, change so I can feel okay internally. And we bring ourselves back into that alpha state when we actually allow ourselves to maintain and not hold on to, because it's always constantly flowing, but to allow that energy to build up internally where we affect our own change. So regardless of what's actually happening out here, we can still be calm. We can still be in a state of love, or be in a state of gratitude, be in a state of appreciation, or just be in a state of curious or anticipation, which is so powerful, because it creates this abundance and it creates this open spaciousness for something new to appear. When we're so caught up in the old beta way of everything happening, we're so hooked into the old way of being, it's very difficult to create change from that space, simply because we're reacting to our old world instead of actually coming back and being proactive in creating a new internal state, which then over time, and I can assure you over the last 10 years I've had so many miracles occur, or what would feel like miracles to me occur, simply from changing my internal state. And things have happened, synchronistic things and coincidences, and not that I believe in coincidences, I truly believe life happens for a reason and for a purpose, and we start to magnetize ourselves energetically then more to what we're actually wanting to receive and what we're wanting to have through that alpha state. And through that, when I say alpha, I'm meaning the alpha waves within the brain, not necessarily alpha female, alpha male, but that's, even that is, it's internalized power. And when people feel powerless, that's when we're giving our power away, and we're trying to grab at either other people's power through conflict or through arguments or through trying to win a situation, as opposed to maintain our own center, knowing full well that we get to create our outcomes exactly the way that we want to through mindfulness practices. So I hope that's been truly helpful for you. The more that we're able to do that, that's when the heart and the mind are truly aligned. You'll know that because you will feel amazing. You will feel like you're living in integrity. You won't have to push. You won't be struggling or efforting. And when I say that, it's more about the energy behind it, where it's like, I've got to make this happen, or I've got to force something. It's more floating downstream with the river. It's like life is lining up for me. I feel so great. And we're still steering the ship, and we're taking aligned actions. It's not about sitting on the couch meditating forever and going, yes, it's all going to land in my lap. No, we have to go out and take action, because that's the demonstration of who we're actually being. And when we're in that state of being, that's when we're actually starting to attract more and more things to us. So we need to take action from the state of already being wealthy. If we were already being wealthy, what would the action steps we would be taking? Would we be learning about investments? Would we be putting 10% aside? Would we be spending less than we earn? What are the true congruent action steps that we would be taking from that state of being? If we were already naturally being happy, what are those congruent action steps that we would already be taking? We'd be smiling at people, we'd be interacting with people, we wouldn't be withdrawing out of the world or anything else. Hey Jerry, great to have you on. So all of those things are truly, truly valuable. And asking yourself that state, or asking yourself the question, if I was already in this state, or I'd already achieved that particular outcome, so it might be something that you're wanting to achieve in the outside world, or something that you believe that you need to have so you can feel okay, or you can feel better. That's the only reason why we want what we want in life, and why we feel anxious, or why we feel scared or worried that if we don't have that thing, we're not going to be okay. When you start to create that internal state first, how would I feel? What would I be doing if I was already experiencing this? Then that's your true power right there, and you will be able to make greater decisions, and you'll be able to create changes in your life from a greater state of congruence and integrity within yourself, because it's more about who you get to become and who you than the actual journey. That is part of the journey, rather than arriving at this one day destination. And it's when people get caught in that I'll be happy when syndrome that we put off our own happiness for so long as well, because it's like, I've got to get there so I can finally feel this way. Emotional mastery is about feeling the feeling as if it's already happened. Hey Donna, hey Chris. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so pleased to hear you're in Toronto, Chris. Hey Christy, so great to have you guys on. So when we're creating those situations from that internal state first, this is where the true power comes from. So a couple of ways that I can help you out with that. If you're unsure or unclear or you're not sure where to start, I definitely recommend checking out Joe Dispenza's Follow Your Heart, Follow Your Intuition. Chances are you've been getting a tap on the shoulder for a little while now about what you need to do. Hey Naomi, great to have you on, sweetie. About what's right for you as well. Follow that intuition. It's so important. If you've been feeling like you need to read a book, or if you need to take a vacation somewhere to fill you up or to get some clarity around stuff, yes, theta state. I will definitely have a think about that as well too, Deb, and I'll share that with you guys in a sec. But really, like you already know, and it's about allowing that inner voice, and it tends to be like very quiet and wise and calm and loving. Hey Christine, great to have you on. As opposed to the screaming that can occur in the survival mind. So sometimes it gets like really anxious and it wants control and it wants certainty and it wants security. So it's going to be demanding of all these and saying, you know, oh, you should be this or you should be that or blah, 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 all these things, as opposed to your intuition, which will just be this nice, beautiful, repetitive voice. And when I say repetitive, it'll be repetitive if you're not taking action on what it's actually guiding you to. This is where physical stress starts to show up in our body when we've been in that beta state for a long period of time. If we are chemically putting in the wrong foods into our body, we're not allowing our body to really take great care of itself, to elevate in its energy, to elevate in its vibration, then that's going to create challenges as well for coherence. When we numb our stress emotions through alcohol or through addictive substances, of course that impairs our mind's ability to be in that coherent state as well. So taking great care of your body is 100% important. I've got an amazing program which over 24,000 people have been through, and I'm part of a really supportive, amazing network that helps people to really take care of degenerative diseases simply through reducing inflammation in the body and improving immune systems as well. So getting back on track, eating whole foods, really just common sense nutrition, but in a way that's very easily able to digest the information and the food as well as to create those changes in your life. So if that's you, if you feel like I'm way off track with my health and my well-being, my health is my number one value above being a parent, above my business, everything else, because if I don't have my health, I can't do any of the other stuff. So if health has been an issue for you, of not being taken care of that, or you feel like, yep, I've got a lot of those stress hormones running through my system, I need to get, or you've got some aches and pains happening, definitely reach out to me, PM me. The other thing that could, of course, be, hey Paula, hey Candice, something that's truly valuable for you is my emotional mastery course, which is my authentic happiness. And it's a great online program. It's a 10-week online program, but I'm also running a weekend intensive in Wagga. This can be participated online. So if you're from another country, I know I've got a lot of people from the States that also tune in from time to time on here as well. Hey Trish, great to have you on, sweetie. Thank you so much for the love, and if this has really resonated with you as well, and if you've only just jumped in, definitely go back to the start and have a listen around the beta waves and the alpha waves and how that actually creates this incoherent state in the body. But the Authentic Happiness Intensive really is about getting you in touch with what's actually driving you. Why are we making those crazy decisions when we know that it's not in our highest good? It's like we know that we want to be healthy, but we're eating the chocolate cake, or we know that we want a great relationship, but all of a sudden we find ourselves yelling or reactive with our partner. Hey Tanya, great to have you on, beautiful. These all come back to meeting our greatest needs as humans, and if we're not even aware of what those are, how can we make resourceful choices around those? So every action that we take, whether it's in integrity with what we want and what we believe and what we value or not, we will actually do whatever we can to get those needs met. And it becomes quite a reactional thing if we're not consciously aware of that as well. Absolutely, honey. I'll definitely pop a link in there for you. That would be my pleasure. And definitely, thanks for saying hi to you, Tanya. So Tiff, yeah, I'll send you some more info as well, hun, with the Authentic Happiness Intensive. So not only you get clear on why you actually do what you do, which I think as humans is, you know, can be frustrating at times, it also helps us to let go completely of taking things personally as to why other people do what they do. So guess what? Like, the more self-aware you become, then the less personal you'll actually take things, because you'll be like, they're just doing that because they're trying to meet that need, or they're freaking out about this particular thing, so they're just trying to meet that particular need. And in that moment, like, it frees you up so much emotionally, where you can actually be quite supportive. Take your own stuff out of the way and just be truly present with somebody that you love if they're going through that state. So this improves relationships massively. It improves communication. But not only that, you also get to understand what has been the pattern, what has been your own internal roadmap, what's been your previous values in how you've lived your life, what are the continual things that you say to yourself that derail you or take you off track. You know, a lot of us have an internal question that we're constantly asking ourselves, like, how can I be enough, or how can I be finally perfect, or how can I finally be successful, or how can I finally be thin enough, or how can I be something, where we feel like we're coming from this place of lack as well, which is really tricky. And then the last two parts of this is really aligning your own heart and your head together. So it's bringing all that and creating a new roadmap forward for you, where you have complete awareness around what is actually driving you, what's moving you forward, and moving forward from there. And then we actually place in so a lot of the other stuff is internal mindset transformational work in the state of who we are, the state of who we're becoming. And then the last bit is the logical, strategical stuff, where we get a really clear action plan for you in moving forward. Hey Teresa, great to have you on, babe. So it can be so impactful as well, just in terms of not only knowing that stuff for ourselves, but I truly believe that this is a skill for life. It's a process I've used numerous times. If I feel like I'm getting off track with my life, or I'm not living in integrity, or if I'm just like in this agitated state, I will bring myself back on track using this same process, using a lot of the tools and processes that I'll actually be teaching over this intensive weekend. I do still have it half price at the moment, and there are only a few spots left. So if this really resonates for you, please sing out to me, let me know, because I'm more than happy to have a chat with you about that and make sure that it is a really good fit. It's always so important for me to work with people where it does truly resonate on that heartfelt level, because you're not going to get the results that you want, and my brand is built on results. So hey Paula, hey Kerry, great to have you guys on. So definitely reach out or PM me if any of the above has resonated with you, and we can have a quick chat, see where you're at, and move forward from there as well. So have an amazing rest of your day. Excited to hear what changes that you're bringing into place, and perhaps, you know, if you are working on some particular things, or you're really excited about some changes that you've made, or there's been some personal development that you've done personally that's really made a difference in your life, drop a comment below, because everybody's here to learn, and I'm always interested in books and courses and things like that. It's also helpful for me as well. I've done a lot of training, a lot of courses in my life, but I'm a constant learner, and you know, I think keeping an open mind, keeping open references really helps us to expand and grow and just become more of the natural self of who we actually really are, as opposed to all these masks and layers that we tend to put on, and that stress state that we tend to get into as well. So have an amazing day, guys. Thank you so much for all of you that have tuned in or that are watching at a later date. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I truly hope that that's served you on some level as well. So lots of love to you. Bye for now.